All right, let's dive into something pretty wild today. We're going to explore a fascinating idea, that one of the simplest letters in our alphabet, the letter H, might actually be holding a profound symbolic secret. Let's see what it's all about.
So, this whole explainer really boils down to one powerful question. What if something you see every single day isn't just a letter, but an ancient symbol? Maybe even an architectural blueprint for reality itself.
Okay, so to really get what this gateway is, we first have to understand the problem it's trying to solve. The source material calls this the problem of two. It's all about the fundamental concept of duality, which you can think of as the number 11.
And here it is, laid out for you. On the left, you've got duality. Two ones, just two separate pillars standing apart. They're parallel, sure, but the crucial thing is they're not connected. Then on the right, you have structure, a stable, unified gateway. You see, the letter H isn't just two lines. So the real question is, how do you get from one to the other?
Well, the solution is actually super simple, but also kind of profound. It's an act of creation, really. It's about deliberately building a bridge to connect those two separate pillars, and in doing so, creating something totally new.
So here's how it works step by step. You start with the left pillar, that first one, which represents some initial force. Let's just call it alpha. Then you add the right pillar, the second one, its opposite force, beta. But the magic, the real transformation, happens in step 3. You add the hyphen, a horizontal line that the source calls the covenant. And that one single action turns division into unity.
And look, this hyphen is not just a line. It's an active link. The source calls it a covenant. And that's a powerful word, right? It implies a promise, a binding agreement. It's the one thing that allows two separate forces to come together and actually support something new, a shared crossbeam. It creates structure where before there was just empty space.
Okay, and this is where things start to get really interesting, because that transformation from 11 to H isn't just something you see. According to this idea, it unlocks all these layers of code, numerical, biological, even technological.
So, why the number 8? Well, think about it. H is the 8th letter of our alphabet, and according to the source, that is absolutely not a coincidence. The number 8 itself is just loaded with symbolic meaning.
You know, if you just tip that 8 on its side, what do you get? The symbol for infinity, right? It represents endless cycles, completion, and renewal. It's like it marks the end of one complete musical octave, one sequence, and the immediate start of the very next one. It's the ultimate transition point.
And this quote from the source material just nails its function. If the number 9 represents completion or arrival, well, you can't get there without first passing through the gateway. The H, as number 8, is that threshold you have to cross to get into the room of the 9.
And let's go back to the shape for a second. It's not just a gateway, is it? It kind of looks like a step, a single rung on a ladder. And that brings up all this powerful imagery of climbing, of ascension, like the story of Jacob's ladder, connecting earth to heaven. And this is where it gets personal. The source takes this ancient symbol and connects it right to our own bodies. Our blueprint, our DNA, is a twisted ladder, basically a sequence of H-gates, over and over again. This idea suggests that our biology is the hyphen, that living covenant that connects the two strands. It's what turns the code of life into a stable working structure.
And you won't believe this, but this H-gate pattern doesn't just show up in biology. It's in our tech too. In electrical engineering, there's a real thing called an H-bridge. And what does it do? Its whole job is to control the direction of energy flow.
So, what this little circuit does is act like a switch, a really important one. It can reverse the polarity of the current, making it flow one way, and then back the other way. It's a perfect physical metaphor, isn't it? The H is the fundamental switch that controls the flow of energy between opposites, our alpha and beta forces.
All right, we've talked biology, we've talked tech. Now let's get into what might be the deepest layer of all, the H as a spiritual, creative force. I want you to just look at this for a second. This is the Tetragrammaton, the sacred four-letter name for God from the Hebrew Bible. Notice anything? It's anchored by two H's, one near the beginning and one at the end. These aren't just random letters. They're there for a very specific and profound reason.
So the idea here is that those two H's, they're like the breath of the name. They're what activate the Yod and the Vav, those two central letters that stand there like our 11, representing that duality. The H's are what turn those static symbols into a living, breathing force.
And get this, it's not just a metaphor, it's literal. In linguistics, the letter H is called an aspirant. It is, quite literally, the sound of air, of breath. You can't make powerful, creative sounds like ra without that internal, breath-like force that the H represents. It's the spirit that gives voice to the word.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together, right? We've gone on quite a journey, from two separate pillars to a unified, living structure. Now it's time to actually walk through that gateway.
And this, right here, just sums up the whole thing perfectly. Before you have the hyphen, all you've got are two spears standing apart, symbols of potential conflict, right? But after the hyphen, you have a functional gateway you can actually walk through. You've shifted from opposition to opportunity.
Which brings us to this final, really powerful idea from the source material. Without that active link, that covenant, we're just isolated, two individuals in a standoff. But with that connecting bridge, we create something new. We build shelter, a structure, a home. We become a house.
So the H-gate, it's a pretty compelling idea, right? A whole universe of meaning tucked away in a simple shape. And it just makes you wonder, if all of this can be encoded in the letter H, what other profound secrets are hiding out there in plain sight, in your world, just waiting for someone to notice?